Mike Giardi Monday, and it is a victory Monday. 42-13. I think it just settled in, Mike, as we're sitting down to share all of our notes, all of the nuggets, all the play calling breakdowns, the plays, the observations, et cetera, on the Pats Interference Podcast, of course. Part of the Young at Heart, year-round, yappy CLNS Media Network. When did it sink in for you that the Patriots just kicked ass up and down the field for like 3 quarters yesterday?
It was probably by mid-second quarter. I was like, "Oh, this game is." I think I tweeted. I was like, "40 burger is coming," And you get the occasional Pats fan. It's like, "Come on, don't jinx this." It was like, "No, man. If you were looking at it from the view I was looking at it from, that other team was ready to go, and you were just feeding off it." And yeah, it was. But it was welcome, right? Like the satisfaction from the players. You hear them coming into the locker room and the yelling and the hooting and hollering, and it's. They work hard for this, so it was a pretty cool moment for them.
Very cool. If you are new to this, Mike Giardi Monday, again, we break down all the film every single Monday, Victory Monday or not. At the end of this, we have 2 segments, one of which is Let Me Have It, wherein I will store away in the back of my mind just a little thing that Mike said I didn't like or I thought was foolish, and then I let him have it, and he does the same for me. But after that, we answer your questions. So if you want to know anything that we skipped over, or you want to look ahead to Buffalo, big game, Sunday Night Football, you and I will both be there. Wait till the end or drop in your question now. We will get to those. Until then, we'll go down the same rundown that we have, except today, I'm going to tell you about the manliest day of my entire life. Because get this. Talk about things that just hit me. I woke up. I lifted heavy things. I put them down. I cooked a bunch of chicken. I watched football all day. And now, because I don't have any beer in my apartment, another tradition here at Mike Giardi Monday. If you got a beer, grab it, come hang. I have a bourbon. Can we get any manlier than that? 9-10 hours of football watching and notes and taking, protein and booze. Are we ready, baby?
I mean, you could probably scratch your ass and that would take it to the next level, but we don't need to see that. So don't do that on your own time or do that where the camera doesn't see.
We'll see in a little bit. All right. So the Panthers, let's be clear, because we will have people in the comments, and they'll be mostly right, who are like, they suck. And yeah, the Panthers, if there's a JV team in the NFL, where like Ted McMillan, if he was in high school, is already looking ahead to basketball season, knowing he's going to start because he's the best player on the team and he's 6'4", and he's handsome and he's all these different things. Is like, just get me to November, December. They can't do that because they play professionally, and you wouldn't know it by Sunday. But I ask you this, acknowledging that piece, how big a deal was this blowout for the Patriots, which I called their most dominant win in almost 4 years, which you'll notice 4 years ago was the last time they were a playoff team.
How important was it?
Yeah, how big a deal?
Yeah, I think it's big. I think it's a confidence thing too. You play well for largely all of week 3, but you can't hang on to the football, and you let this thing slip away, and there's anger, and then you wonder, like, you can't let this one become 2. You can't lose a game to Carolina when you look at the tape and go, we're better than these guys, but we were better than Pittsburgh, and we let it slip away. So I think, from a confidence standpoint, to be able to bounce back from a disappointing performance like that and then to just put it on a team like that says to guys around the room, like, hey, there's a tier of teams that are kind of there's a group of us in the middle, and we think we're better than that group. Well, when we face these teams, don't just beat them badly, sort of flex your muscles. And I think I'll be curious to see what the mood is like in the locker room tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. But I just have a feeling this one gave them a little bit of a jolt that will carry them into Buffalo.
So I was watching Scott Van Pelt late last night, just couldn't sleep, watched Sunday night, just miserable, but I mean, it's a tie, right? And it reminded me that Scott Van Pelt has this perfect saying when it comes down to teams and competition and you get into kind of like deciding who's good and who's not. His phrase is, how good is your good, right? Like when you are firing, what does that look like? That came to mind again watching this game here today, because I look at the Patriots and go, this is a type of potential, a dominance they have not shown since 4 years ago when they won exactly last like this. And technically 29-point spread, they did that to the Lions in 2022, kicked a bunch of field goals, Kyle Duggar to pick 6, whatever, who cares? Before that was 50-10 against the Jaguars. And I look at this and go, okay, we all talked about wild card team, talent here and talent there, and Drake Maye year 2 leap, which is coming up in a second. But I go, this is a big deal. It's not proof of concept. It's not anything more than a September win, but this is something we've not seen in years. Now, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to fulfill the potential? Or are you going to be looking ahead to basketball season like Ted McMillan will be by Thanksgiving? You know what I mean? Like, so I think this is a big deal in a way that it can stand on its own. But obviously, what comes next is most important. You just feel like there's a ceiling now that's been raised on what can come next.
Yeah, and it was funny in the locker room post game asking players like, does this feel different when you win like this? And pretty much to a man, they're like, man, we don't really care how we win. It's hard to win in this league. You hear that cliche all the time, but it's true. Like 6-3, 42-13, like just give me the W, because, again, they work hard for it. And the more you stack together, the more you're not thinking about basketball season in November. The more you're thinking about, we had a chance to play meaningful games in late December. Do we have a chance to play meaningful games in January? Like, that's the aim. That's the goal. And, I still feel like from a talent perspective, they're probably still a full cycle away, off-season cycle away. But this does give you those glimmers of like, okay, you put this one on the table. Now show me what's next.
Yeah. All right. Here's how the game went. We do these 5 categories every single time. This is what football more or less boils down to. And omitted from this is field position, which we just have to acknowledge. Marcus Jones, MVP, franchise record, 87-yard touchdown, 61-yard return. The man was the reason that they won the football game, because for most of that game, he scored as many points as the other team did. Now, you'll again notice he's omitted from this. Turnovers. This is area number 1, 0-0. Okay, that's a dead draw. Explosive play rate. Patriots had explosive plays on 14.6% of their plays. That's about 1 out of every 7. That is far and away their season high, and a ratio that would win you a ton of games over the long haul. Success rate, Panthers were 6.2. So you more than doubled them in explosive plays. Success rate, this is about even, 47% for the Patriots, 49% for the Panthers, and this includes garbage time. Red zone efficiency, 4 of 4 for the Patriots. Underrated. You brought this up last week because the defense was kind of letting everyone, you get in the 20, just go
go ahead.
The 20. Panthers were 2 of 2, but you get down there more often. Obviously, good things happen. And here was another big gap. Defensive pressure rate, 37% for the Patriots, 18% for the Panthers. Is there anything big there missing besides Marcus Jones still running somewhere by Carolina Panther?
No, I mean, to me, the thing, explosives. Vrabel's been talking about it, been clamoring for it. X plays. Can we just say explosive, by the way? But
yes.
You just get them, and they were a little sluggish to begin the game, obviously. Carolina goes down the field, scores on you, and you go 3 and out, and you're like, okay, you're really going to do this against this team? And it was the next possession where Marcus Jones takes it to the house on the punt return, and it was like the whole place woke up. But most importantly, the sideline woke up. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, no. This is what we're supposed to do to this team. And it just the drive that McDaniels strung together with 3 20-plus yard plays, like that stuff was just critical. And instead of the 17 or 15 play drives that they had against the Steelers that eventually, fizzled out, this is just like, boom, done, got it, taken care of. Don't have to stress in the red area sometimes or whatever. Like, we're just doing our thing.
You know who said that first? I believe, like after the game, officially, unofficially, Drake Maye. I asked him about those X plays. I'm like, hey man, you hit 7. If you define them all as just kind of 20+ yards or more, they had 8 going in. What'd you see? How'd you get him? He's like, man, honestly, I just happy to have him, and not like the aw shucks golden retriever from North Carolina kind of way. He was like, man, I am sick and tired of that nickel dimer paper cut drives that you just mentioned with McDaniels, which it's nice to know they can operate that way, but when you have fewer than 50 plays, nobody on offense played 50 plays. Okay. That says efficiency. It says explosiveness. And let's just do Drake Maye right now. He's making a year 2 leap. Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was dinging him a little bit in the first game because it just, hey, some of the balls weren't in the right place. There's hesitation, these sorts of things. Then he has the great performance in week 2. He was generally really good in week 3, but there were 2 massive turnovers that some people like to write off, and you just can't. It's too important. But then to bounce back like this, I felt like at points in the game, it was like the big brother versus the little brother. We're like, you just hold the ball over his head, and you just can't You can't reach it. And I felt like he was doing that to them at various points during the game. And the big one, obviously, was the play to Hunter Henry where, play action goes to his left, creates that little window. He did manage to manipulate the defense enough to get that little window, and then the little flick, and it was just like, come a little closer. Okay, now you open it up. Boom, puts it right in there, and then great effort by Pop Douglas to lead the way for Hunter Henry, and maybe not such a great effort by the Panthers down by the 7 or 8 yard line. But that's the kind of stuff where you're just like, all right, I see you. I like what you're doing. But the whole part of it to me is their command. And I think you had questions after week 1, like what's the fit like with Josh? And I know it's still early and they, obviously first game together, they're going to learn each other and all these things. Boy, it feels like they learned each other pretty quick. Feels like we come out of September saying these guys they see it the same way, or he's getting Drake to see it the way he wants him to, and you're benefiting from it. So I couldn't help this morning but write about it. I was just like, I think it's happening.
It's amazing what happens when you just take a breath, right? Like that first drive, he has incomplete pass to Booty. It's well behind him, gets deflected. It's up in the air, and everyone's going, oh my God, there it goes. It's just going to be a magnet to a Panthers defensive back, and we're going to do this all over again. Falls incomplete, but nobody feels great. This is right after they'd given up that touchdown, right? Yep. And May himself takes a breath because we know the first drives have been all jitters or nerves or just excitement. He's a 23-year-old kid. And then things settle down. And from there, he's 14 to 17 overall. He only had one inaccurate pass that was not intentional the rest of the game. And it was with someone diving at his feet in the third quarter. That is playing quarterback at a damn high level. Now, we cannot separate how good May was from the pass protection, which he had. Offensive line was responsible for 2 pressures. That was it. One from Ben Brown, one from Garrett Bradbury, who gave up the incompletion, against someone diving at his feet in the third quarter. When you have that amount of time where you could have a picnic and you could invite me and you down from the press box and say, take your time. I know it's 6 floors down in the elevator, and then you got to walk down all the steps to get onto the field, but I'll be here and I'll have the time and I'll have the space. You could do a lot of good things. But despite that kind of comfort, the nerds will tell you, of which I include, card-carrying member, the most consistent and predictive, part about quarterback play is how you perform in a clean pocket. When you get that type of scenario, how good are you? How good is your good, to steal again from Scott Van Pelt? Drake Maye is throwing the ball wherever he wants, whenever he wants. That good is as good as any you've seen. It's not going to continue because you're not going to have a pressure rate below 20%, maybe the rest of the season. Okay. Carolina came in with 1 sack. But when he was given the time, he played as good of a game and certainly the cleanest game we've ever seen from him. So yeah, the year 2 leap is happening. What else do you like about it though? Because there are parts of this with the pressure was minimal, but I kind of like that he was responding really well to it. Again, saw the blitz really well, spreading the ball around, and only 1 deep completion, which we talked about before. All these kids want to throw it long. They want to extend plays. He's doing this and that. Carolina says, no. The one thing we're actually going to do is not let you have that until the very end. But he still functioned.
It's funny you bring up the point about coming out of the gates again with that sort of the nerves and the jittery and oh boy, in the third quarter, that first drive. And you mentioned the one throw to Diggs that ends up at his feet with he's got bodies at his feet. But the play prior, or a few plays prior, to Booty, right, where he's got a little bit more time than he thinks he has, and completed pass, 18-yard gain or whatever it was. But had he taken a pause more and squared his body, Kayshawn probably gets 40, or who knows.
Yeah.
But I liked again sort of the response to that, a couple throws I didn't love from him. He's feeling that, and then immediately settles himself back in. There was also another instance in that third quarter where it wasn't quite the pressure of the Steelers game with the fumble. Chris Casper did ask him about this afterwards.
Great question by Chris.
There was a lot of stuff happening around him, and instead of trying to do something funky, he takes the 1-yard sack. And he criticized himself afterwards, saying the line hates me for taking a 1-yard sack. Probably I owe him one. Throw the ball away. And to me, I'm like, no, just take the 1-yard sack, buddy. Just turtle up. But he did. It was a smart play. And you say to yourself, you just learn from 1 week to the next. And that's been one of the good things about him, I think, all along, is that he generally isn't that error repeater. There's still that YOLO stuff that he's going to do or has been doing. But to me, that's That's a mentality more than it is like, oh, I screwed up on this play. I'm not going to screw up on it again. And I just like that sequence there where it's not a positive play, but it was a smart play. And that's what they're trying to drill in him. Like, you can't win it, but occasionally you can lose it. Don't lose it there.
It's funny whenever he gets questions about confidence because you can almost see. I mean, sometimes you can literally see the head tilt. Like,
Yeah.
are you asking me about this? Youngest of four, super athletic family, preternatural athlete, accurate quarterback, smart pressers, all these different things. You think confidence is a problem for me? Come on, shoot.
Shoot, exactly. That's what he'd say too. Shoot.
But in those exact moments, pocket closing, when you've been burned by yourself with a fumble or a pick, as he was in the opener. And after that opener was the first time in my life I'd seen him at a podium. And this includes some of the Carolina games where he is not even, hands on the podium. And you could be like, oh, body language, whatever. But like commanding the room, right? He was a little bit withdrawn. I go, oh, this is different. Because he felt that of, I'm not so good at this yet. This is the thing I've been told about over and over and over again in the spring and in the summer and a little bit in the preseason. You got to fix this. You got to be more disciplined. Live to see another day. Now that he's doing that, I think you can see some of the confidence there being like, it's not, I have to get everything on one play, but sometimes I will if I just wait. And that is, it's maturity, it's processing all this different stuff, which you can gloss over with just those terms. But when you see it and that specific example, you're just going, man, the kid's not just going to be all right. He's going to be freaking great.
I was going back when I was writing the story, and I didn't include it in, but I remember like when they drafted him and the whole process leading up to it, talking to different people around the league who evaluate for the league and who evaluate the position in particular.
What do they evaluate for?
Yeah, right. But it was the quote was something about like, he won't break himself. You might break him, but he's not going to do it. And I think we're seeing some of that resilience. And to your point, then there's some of that swagger. Like even when last year they couldn't win games, like you'd ask him some questions and he'd be like, I kind of want to tell you to go screw yourself. I'm not going to do that because I'm being a polite young man and I'm the quarterback, the face of the team. You pause and tilt that head to your point, and like he would answer diplomatically and generally not say very much, but you'd be like, yeah, he's not worried about that. And I think the body language thing in the first game was real and it was concerning. But again, the resiliency to bounce back from it and sort of keep that swagger and confidence is critical. And I think that trickle-down effect we talk about, they feel it from him right now. And I think that's as important as anything. His play, but the guys around him are feeling it too.
Well, how about this? Did you see the post-game locker room video that the team puts out after wins? You know who was commanding that at the very end?
Yes, sir.
Number 10.
Yep.
Okay. All right. We'll have plenty of the season to blaze Drake, and he deserves it. Like those are real things, improving week to week. And when we talk about turnovers, again, I've not been among the people to be like, Drake Maye has a turnover problem. Like, yeah, he's a young quarterback. Okay, you hand a 16-year-old the keys, they're going to have a speeding or a parking problem. That's how that goes when you start to drive or when you start to play quarterback. But to see him
just ask my son.
Yeah, if he gets back to you one of these days.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It'd be a little hard. The Panthers were 11th in DVOA and pass defense going into this game. And your boss, Greg Bedard, shared that on TV with me the other night. And I said, they stink. You got to go out. And I love DVOA. Don't get me wrong. But like you go out, you beat them. You do exactly what you need to do. And they did. That malleability, the growth, everything is there that you want to see. He'll have some more bad games. He'll throw some picks. But for now, like this has been a really good September for him. One last stat, because this captures everything. Do you know how many incompletions he had?
3.
You know how many touchdowns he had?
3.
There you go. I think that says it all now.
Yeah. I mean, again, just building in the right direction, and you have to feel good about it. And there's a huge test coming up, but then there's a soft part of the schedule again. So it's like there's an opportunity here if you want to get all starry-eyed.
Are you looking at me when you say that?
I could be referencing the podcast that was on right before us at 6 to 7.
I got you. We should note, though, like the Browns stink because they're up after Buffalo, I believe. Or no, excuse me, it's Buffalo at
New Orleans,
at Tennessee,
New Orleans, Tennessee. Yeah,
Cleveland's the next home game. There's a good defense or two in there. So this is, for the Patriots, might be overall smooth sailing. But for Drake Maye, he'll have a challenge or two. So we talk about Drake. We talk about the protection. Again, cannot say this part enough, right? He had clean pockets. because Ben Brown gave up one pressure, Garrett Bradbury gave up one pressure, and that was it for the offensive line. There was a sack in there, it's a covered sack, whatever. And then he invited pressure in that touchdown to Hunter Henry where he's baiting the rusher in to open a throwing window. That was it. 4 pressures total. Don't care what PFF says. Don't care what anybody else says. You watch the film, you get back to me, you're going to say exactly what I just did. The other person responsible for this 35-point outburst offensively was Josh McDaniels. And I write this for tomorrow in the Herald sneak peek. Read it at thebostonherald.com. Goes up at 5 a.m. This was close to a McDaniels masterpiece. True or false?
Oh, completely. Knew what he wanted to do. They wanted to attack the edges a little bit. 2 backup outside linebackers. Linebackers in general, not very good. A lot of eye candy, attack the edges, a lot of confusion. Schemed up some wonderful things. The jet sweep to Gibson coming from a spot that he wasn't normally in. Then to fake the jet sweep and the schemed up run to Ramondre right afterwards. There was just a whole bunch of that stuff. And again, I think when he gets in his bag and he's feeling a game like that, it's quite something to watch. And we saw it, obviously for a billion years, it's Brady. And then, Tom goes on elsewhere and you struggle and Brady's still doing his thing. And you're like, well, it was more Brady than anybody else. Yes. Okay. I'll grant you that. But the guy that was calling plays for him was pretty good at it. And while he has not worked as a head coach, he's still a damn good offensive coordinator. I always just go back to like when the criticisms of him happen, COVID year, Cam Newton signed whenever in the summer, couldn't throw, could not throw. It was a massive problem for him. When you have a quarterback who cannot throw, physically cannot throw, I don't know how you're supposed to do things. They won 7 games and pieced together a fairly successful offense. Damiere Byrd, I believe, was their number 1 receiver at the end of the year.
He was.
Yeah. Okay.
So a new statistical model, this little nugget that they had started using that year. And you know what it spit out? Damiere Byrd is a really undervalued receiver in the league. And granted, maybe that was different if you had a better quarterback. But you'll notice Damiere Byrd's not even sticking around another season in New England. So
yeah, and I think he only made like 1 more season in the NFL. So knowing that he's capable of cobbling together something like that, giving him a quarterback with the talent that Drake has, and as I mentioned earlier, like I think Josh has figured him out pretty quickly, what works and what doesn't work, and I think Drake's responded to that. So the combination of what he's dialing up and then having the quarterback be on board with it is critical because there were whispers even after week 1, like, I don't know if this is the right fit, if this is the right offense, if Drake really likes it. And look, Drake may like something else better. Like, hey, let me just throw the ball 60 yards down the field 7 times a game. Getting results, producing, winning can help alter the mind a little bit.
It's almost like more time gives you a chance to understand a person and grow together. Oh my God.
Yes,
it's amazing. I remember I almost got evicted.
You put that in your Twitter bio. It should be a quote.
Yeah.
Wise man once said.
If I ever go into counseling, sit in the other side of the therapist's office, that'll be just the one thing I say. Be the best version of yourself. No, look, like in August, I was in Minnesota and doing a hit, I think, for BST. And it was brought up like, oh, Drake is not, so pissed about his mistakes and he's not all mad and isn't going to work with McDaniels. It's not enough like Brady. I'm like, man, we got to let go of the idea that greatness looks like one person, acts like one person, sounds like one person. And that person is Tom Brady. Patrick Mahomes sounds a lot different than Tom Brady. Okay. And is on track to have as much success as the greatest quarterback of all time. Whether or not he gets there is immaterial from the fact that you can approach a job with a different personality, but the same drive and respond to failure differently. So when Drake Maye is like, man, I'm on to the next thing. Again, that golden retriever head tilt and that North Carolina smile and just the way that he is, that's fine as long as you continue to strive and get better and persist. And what has he done the last 3-4 weeks along with Josh McDaniels? I just don't want to hear about that. Like we have to accept that he's different. We're all learning about Drake Maye as he's learning more about New England. And Josh McDaniels is learning about him. And to your point, figuring out, hey, man, when I jack up the play action, good things happen. And it's weird because when I looked up these numbers today and I tweeted this out, the play action has gone up every single week. And just about every single week, with the exception of the Pittsburgh game, shout out that fumble and pick. His QBR has risen with the play action rate, which got to 38% against Carolina, which is obscene. Okay, 2 out of every 5 passes, we got a little fake going on. Drake Maye is better. And the PFS stats I looked up today, they were a little different. Okay, his average yards per attempt is down. His completion percentage is actually a little bit down, but it simplifies the read. It typically leads to more explosive plays, and his passer rating is actually a little bit higher. All of which is to say, when you especially get him on the move, you've got the threat to bring up Mahomes again, as you saw in the Hunter Henry play. Okay, he'll have a flat throw, he'll have a deep throw, which was supposed to be a wheel to Pop Douglas, or he could run it. And good luck against that. Okay, if you've got a quarterback who can play under control. So this is, to bring it back to McDaniels, a credit to him for the play action rate and the motion rate. This is the last stat I'll have, which is a complete lie. Maye was 9 of 10 for 105 yards with 2 touchdowns when they use pre-snap motion. And this is every Twitter nerd's favorite thing, because when we see the activity, we correspond it with the productivity, which is just not true. The Eagles were bottom of the league in motion last year, or close to it, and led the league in scoring. Okay, talent is more important than motion. But when you unlock certain things for him and limit his focus, he can be spectacular. We've seen that, or something close to it. And credit to McDaniels for doing those exact things.
Yeah, I'm not harp on it, because it was such a point of contention throughout even when they hired him, or even his name came up, like, I don't know how it's going to work. I'm like, just plug in the damn 2020 tape, man, and tell me he can't make it work. I'm not telling you he's, Bill Walsh in his front, but he's really good, and he has a way with quarterbacks. And again, maybe not necessarily when he was a head coach, but when he coaches them, he got Cam, he got Jimmy Garoppolo, helped get him paid. He got Jacoby Brissett ready. Jacoby's been in the league for a long time. Matt Castle got paid big time for the 1 year. He's good at this. And you have to trust that. Forget all the other stuff about Josh as the head coach. Think about the offensive coordinator, what he's capable of, and you've got to feel good about the hands that your quarterback is in right now.
All right, quick programming note. If you were just joining us, we have a mailbag segment at the end. If you want a question answered, just drop it in the comments. You can do this on YouTube. You can do it anywhere. Subscribe to my YouTube channel @_Andrew Callahan. Find this podcast. Find segments from other podcasts, entire episodes, all there. And, of course, the Press Pass channel, Patriots Press Pass, for the year-round, young-hearted, and yappy CLNS Media Network. I want to end on this with McDaniels, because we talk about play action, we talk about motion, we talk about adapting to Drake Maye. He looked at, I describe them as a dopey linebacking core. Is that too harsh? Is that over the line?
No, I think that's fair.
Okay. That was the softest I could put it watching. As you mentioned, DJ Johnson, who on a naked bootleg for that first touchdown that Drake Maye scores, might as well have been naked and afraid himself, because he's just watching Drake Maye go yards away because he fell for a run fake so badly that he had no chance in that play. They had the jet motion for an actual jet sweep. They had the fake jet motion with the handoff to Ramondre. Again, all of that. They avoid J.C. Horn, which sounds obvious, but you have to drill that into your quarterback to do it. And they're leaning more into man-blocked runs, the gap schemes, which is huge, because his own stuff has just not worked. Maybe it will work, but it won't now. And you saw this in Travion Henderson's 5-yard run with his first touchdown. Power O, right side, gets right in there. Mike Owenu clears out Derek Brown, which was a huge block there right at the time. It was just a great use of an offense that actually wasn't that efficient down to down. Their success rate was lower than Carolina's, but through the explosive plays that he schemed and the way that he set up Maye to take his own shots, this is just everything you could want from an offensive coordinator. He'll have a lot of worse games moving forward, but I like those things. And even leaning more into 11 personnel, because, they were running through 12, your 2 tight ends. They had 1 successful run out of 11 runs out of 12 personnel. Just not working. So he goes, okay, we'll open it up. We'll go 3 receivers. And it didn't fix everything, but it's just that mid-game stuff in addition to, here's the plan, it's working, but I'm not just going to stick with that. I'm going to respond to what the game is telling me and how it declares. And that's, again, just good job, Josh.
Yeah, Dave Canales was sticking with some of the same stuff throughout the course of the game and made no real adjustments. And again, I don't think it would have mattered, but that illustrates your point perfectly. You've got to be able to adjust. Teams are smart. They have smart people upstairs. They've got all kinds of tape on you now. They're learning and adjusting. And if you're faster than they are at that, or you make the the good adjustment that they take a little while to get. All of a sudden, oh, we just had 2 good drives together before they could figure out why we were killing them. And now all of a sudden our 7-point lead is 20 or whatever.
You know who else needs to adjust? Your boy here. Because I got to tell you, I went 0-2 in PrizePicks last week.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
We give out PrizePicks picks of the week here in Pats Interference every single week. And you go to PrizePicks, which, like, look, I don't care what apps you have, how you make your money. There's one place that's the easiest place to win money if you're watching sports and you think you know what you're watching. Or you listen to this podcast, where over the last 3 weeks, we were 4-2, but you're only as good as your last game. We were 0-2. Picked Hunter Henry more than 2.5 catches. He got 2. Picked more than half a field goal for Ryan Fitzgerald, who let me down and missed. For
my God, did he ever?
Don't remind me.
that was hideous.
More often than not, we are right on this show. And if you want to be right, because there's nothing like being right and winning money at the same time, you got to go to PrizePicks. Because whether it's football season or it's basketball or the baseball playoffs coming up, all you have to do to play this is look at players. They give you stats. You can even change the numbers sometimes to give you better odds. And I'll tell you, I only give you picks that are the best odds that they have. We're not going to miss with something 50-50. It should be as easy as Hunter Henry, more than 2.5 catches. Doesn't work out, whatever. But you pick 2 players. You put them in a lineup. You go more or less, whatever the stat is, yards, touchdowns, runs, home runs, points, whatever, okay? And you lock it in. And that's it. That's PrizePicks. You build a lineup of 2 to 6 players with those stats. You can use Venmo. You can use credit card, whatever you want to do. It's simple. It's easy. It's the best place to win money. For all the places that are trying to take it from you is watching sports. Join me, join Giardi at PrizePicks, and download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups. That's 50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup with code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, part of the headline of this episode is what you missed. People are going, I saw Marcus Jones. You guys just covered Drake Maye, who had as many incompletions as touchdown. Yeah, Josh McDaniels called a good game. What else did I miss on offense? You tell him. Oh, no. Come on, help me. Or I can just go.
No, I was going to say.
You already more than, less than one thing everybody missed.
Austin Hooper's continuing to be a really nice role player for this team. That's not a specific X and O thing, but like contributing both on the jet sweep with the block, then on, as I said, the schemed up run for Ramondre right after, of course, the 24-yard catch on the tight end screen. I actually thought it was one of his better run blocking performances. I haven't been real high on either he or Hunter thus far as a run blocker. I thought he was pretty effective in that regard. So one of those low-key, under-the-radar signings, he's fine, whatever. No, he's a little bit better than fine. And he makes a nice pair with Hunter. So I figure he's worthy of a shout-out here.
I'm going to go Stephon Diggs. Again, we all watched, had a 100-yard game. I don't know if you heard. It's his first as a Patriot. And he only played 31 snaps, which is crazy to consider for a guy who had that many catches, that many yards. But I know going into this game, a lot of people were saying, and it might have even come up between you and I last week, Pop Douglas stinks. He plays the slot. Put Stephon Diggs there and just roll. And we just said that was kind of the plan in the second half for Josh McDaniels. It wasn't as simple as Stephon Diggs just playing the slot and being better, because when you look at his 3 explosive plays, so gains of 20 yards or more, he had one from the X, which is the weak side receiver who's all alone by himself on one side of the formation. He went from the Z, which is the strong side of the formation, typically outside of the slot. And then he had one from the slot. So this is a guy who claims to have, 5 out of 10 comfort in the offense, but like every receiver has to for Josh McDaniels, plays all of the positions and is doing so at a high level. Now, okay, maybe you notice that he's playing all the positions and he's getting explosive plays. The biggest difference between him and Pop Douglas in this game, aside from just the raw production, was something you brought up first and brought up time and time again: the feel against zone. Carolina plays more zone than virtually every defense in the league. Okay, you know what you're going to get from them. They might spin the safeties, they might drop down, whatever it's going to happen. But your job is to find the holes in zone. Steph Diggs did this for 3 of his first 4 catches. Just go short, settle down, and stop. What he also did on his last catch, which was not short, it was not settling down, it was a quick shove off and look around against Mike Jackson on the 30-yard back shoulder, was just the timing with Drake Maye. The chemistry is there for the two of them in 4 weeks that, again, I don't think is going to continue against Buffalo, because now he's declared, hey, I'm back, department. I'm here. I need to check in. Stephon Diggs, check me out.
Yeah, and you know that
Yeah.
Buffalo is not going to want that to be a thing.
Yeah, yeah. But you know what I mean? Like you saw it too. It was just sometimes football is as simple as when you and I and everyone else played it in the backyard. Just find the open spot and
Yeah.
stop. And so it's not the exact route or the precision, but it's just having the trust with the quarterback to do that. When he does that again, boom, 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 6 yards, 8 yards, 4 yards early, I think that gave Drake the confidence to go 4th and 3. Yeah, I'll take the 30-yard shot to my guy, and they made it.
Yeah, there's a couple times too where when you're watching the game back and watching from that high view, you're like, I don't know, was that the right route or is that as crisp as it needs to be? And
Probably not, but it
yeah,
worked.
yeah. But then he understands spacing as well as anyone, which is why truly between that and the competitive nature on the field was one of the reasons why I love him as a receiver. Like had him up there as one of the 4 or 5 best guys for the years that he was in Buffalo because he consistently would be able to find those little places against the defense and make those plays. And when you're working with a young quarterback who's trying to take that next step, as we're talking about, having someone that I need 7, he's going to be there. I see this. Oh, he sees it too. Boom. You just that trust, that lack of hesitation on some of those throws. And I will say this on the back shoulder, he wasn't fast, but he was fast enough. He got a little bit on Jackson. Jackson panicked, and when Jackson panicked, whatever May felt it at the same. I don't know, but that was the timing that you're talking about, where he probably could have let him and tried to go that way and go over the top, but he saw it as no, we've got him where we want him, and throws the back shoulder, and massive amount of separation on the break there as Jackson kept on going, and Steph's turning around and catching one.
Yeah. Just I don't think his arrival statistically means he's arrived as the old step takes or the number 1 receiver, right? Because a big piece of that was the athleticism, in addition to the route running and the smarts. The athleticism, more likely than not, but we'll see. We'll know who he is and where he is late October, mid-November, more than a year past the ACL tear. But that he doesn't have to be the old step takes to be the number 1 receiver here, and that just a guy that they can trust. As I brought up time and time again. Critical down, Drake Maye is going to go to step takes. Like if I was a defensive coordinator, that is what I'm saying early and often in the week of preparation. But to have that again, work on a deeper route against a good secondary was a really good sign. I love the Austin Hooper shout out because he had 2 big downfield blocks, the early screen, all of that. I know I mentioned Henderson's patience. Again, things that you missed here. And Will Campbell posted a clean sheet. We already talked about the pass protection. The patience is so big with him because he just ran into tacklers and by his blockers in a way that, like, man, I was eager when I was that young, okay? But sometimes you just got to slow down. And when you do that, you go further than you expect. And that's what he did in the 5-yard run, where he, like, waited for it to develop. It's power O. He gets stopped a little bit, burrows his head, good leg drive, good pad level, and he gets through there. And, like, again, week-to-week jumps, there were so many improvements like that in this game for the Patriots. We covered the big stuff. But, like, if you want to see more TreVeyon Henderson, you might because he's doing stuff like that.
Yeah, handled that whole drive, right? All 8 snaps on that drive. On that play, by the way, the touchdown play, Ben Brown blocking his guy into the end zone, like came around, got into him, and just stayed on him. Morgan Moses on the combo block gets to the second level, takes his guy into the end zone as well. When Mike's talking about, like, keep going, you just keep going, keep blocking, finish the play, like finish longer than the guy who has the ball in his hands. And then who knows, the guy with the ball in his hands, he may keep going too. To me, that was like a good example of that. But the power that Henderson showed at 203 pounds or whatever he's listed at is pretty, he's a strong dude. We saw it during the summer and you saw it there on that play.
This is my last note for things you might have missed, just because nobody missed him against Steelers because he was losing the ball and losing his playing time. Ramondre Stevenson had 5 broken tackles against Carolina. That led the team far and away. And Ramondre Stevenson led them in playing time because Mike Vrabel said, that's my guy. I'm going to stick by him. I'm even going to give him the ball in the first damn play of the game. And he denied this to WEI this morning. And Mike's very good with the media. I do not believe him for a second. I do think that was a statement.
Yep.
I know they're very intentional, as intentional now as any organization weren't a year ago. But the point is, they're standing by him because of Vrabel's confidence, his pass protecting skills, and he very well might fumble in Buffalo. He did a year ago. But for now, that guy still has a skill set that's useful. And I was here saying, look, I'd bench him for a game. They didn't.
Yeah.
It worked out. And we'll see how this goes moving forward. But like we have to come back to the guys that you go, can't play them. And then they do. And it works out.
Quickly, smattering of booze when he was introduced on the Jumbotron as a starter. Not, not anything like crazy, but like, really? You're going to do that? So, as you said, I think that was very intentional. We're going to give him the ball, and he's going to take care of it. He had one cut I didn't like in the game, but by and large,
that bouncing out second half. Yeah,
Yep.
I agree with you.
I'll give you one other one, and you mentioned Will Campbell, the clean sheet. Pretty dominant as a pass blocker. I'd like him as a run blocker. We've talked about it. I think he's at least above average, if not already good as a run blocker, even though their run blocking the run game in general hasn't come together completely. Falls off a fair amount of blocks in the run game. I would like to see him because he's capable. I don't know if that's a pad level, if that's a tech, whatever it is, because I've seen him do it. So I'm sure that's something that just say, hey, look, you finish these plays, stay on that a little bit. Don't let your guy get involved. Mike talks about as we heard a lot last week, about multiple people have to protect the guy with the ball. So the turnovers aren't necessarily just on the guy with the ball. Didn't result in anything, but a couple of times fell off blocks where he's got to finish that. But the fact that I'm picking at that is a good sign.
An asshole.
No, it's a good, to me. He's been, I don't want to say good. He's been better than average. And when you consider where they were that position last year, and you consider some of the stuff that we went through in the summer, where you're like, I don't know if that's like what's going to happen. Through 4 weeks, man, nitpicks here, nitpick there. Herbig got him a few times, all that stuff. But like, by and large, it's been good.
Yeah. Up and over 2,000 right now on the live show. Thanks for hanging out. If you got a question, drop it in the comments. We will get to it at the end. We have a mailbag segment in addition to something that I already filed away for. Let me have it for something you already said. Bug me.
Oh, damn it.
Didn't like it.
I say once again, I don't even have anything.
We got to tell you. Will Campbell, bottom line, this has been better than I expected. There was a block, to your point, near the goal line. It's first half. They're running left, and he just gets snatched. Like he's like falling forward because someone took him and tossed him. It happens. You play offensive line long enough. But you're right. He's better, and Morgan Moses is better than any tackle they had playing last season. And you know this because one of them is not here anymore, and the other guy is backing them up and only coming on in jumbo sets. Or I could have sworn Vidarian Lowe was going to get one of those balls like he did last year when I had my favorite stat of the entire season. That Vidarian Lowe, starting left tackle, had as many catches as Javon Baker. Didn't happen. Might later on, though. We'll just put a pin in that. You ready to move on to the defense?
Let's do it.
Okay. This, to me, is we start with, okay, what were their plans, right? Like, what is the lens that we need to look through for this performance, what they wanted to accomplish, how they wanted to accomplish it, and then how it went. This, to me, was a simple game plan because they screwed up at the beginning of the Pittsburgh game going, we'll play some too high shells, and we'll deny Aaron Rodgers all of these deep throws. The Steelers are like, that's great. We're going to throw screens to DK Metcalf, who has two blockers, and you got one guy there in the first drive. And we'll go down for a touchdown. We'll go down for another touchdown. The Patriots go, okay, fine. We'll play single high, load the box, crowd the middle of the field, and make you make more difficult throws and just generally throw the ball. In addition to these space plays, because of course you're going to throw screens and such to make us tackle. They start out this week single high. It's a lot of cover one. It's a lot of cover three, and it's the same principle. Really, the same principles as Miami. Bryce Young, your arm strength, not so good.
Yeah.
Tua, same deal. And we want to stop the run. And, of course, they allow the touchdown, which, again, the beauty of just taking one breath is Gillette's like, ugh. And I don't blame them for that opening drive. Penalties, more missed tackles. But they knew, just by virtue of the injuries, and Carolina had one after their first play to David Moore, that the Panthers were playing with like half the cards on the table, right? They can see you have to nickel dime us. You have to do short throws. You have to bootleg. You have to run the ball. There's not going to be these big, gigantic plays that you're going to get. So Carolina does all of that. But they do sprinkle in a little bit of these first down play action shots, knowing we'll get basic looks. And, hey, if you're going to play cover one and cover three, only one high safety, we'll throw it deep. Zach Core, I keep reminding myself. It's like the beer, Coors, just take out this. Zach Core was a beat ahead of Dave Canales, which nobody puts a banner for that, okay, ever in life. But to his credit, this was better than Pittsburgh because he understood that's when they're going to take their shots. 1st and 10, neutral downs, midfield. Bryce Young not only didn't have a deep attempt, let alone completion, he had just 2 completions, period, longer than 10 yards through the air, because every time Carolina says, all right, we're going to gamble, we're going to roll the dice, Zach Core goes, all right, well, let me shift the odds here because we're going to keep 2 safeties back. And that was pretty much it. They played some exotic stuff in passing downs, and Harold Landry was an inside linebacker for like a couple of snaps. And, they want to contain Bryce Young. But to me, that was the whole game. Can you get on them when they want to go deep, knowing they can really only throw to Ted McMillan and run the ball? And if they can't do that, they can't do anything.
Yeah, I wrote down for this, no fear of the wide receivers whatsoever. And even Tet, like, obviously knowing that he's their best guy, but it wasn't like, oh, we got a shade over that. Like, well, we're paying Christian Gonzalez. Well, not paying him yet. We're going to. Carlton Davis paying a big money. Like, we're going to trust that those guys are going to handle their sides, and he's not going to go crazy on us. And I also thought, just not that they were afraid of Young's legs, but they did talk a lot about during the course of the week. Milton Williams called him a jitterbug and those sorts of things. Like, just make sure that he's not running around making crazy plays. And he was pretty much useless with his legs, which, when you consider the inefficiency of his arm and the lack of strength in his arm, if his legs aren't going to do much for him either, then they're going to be in for a world of hurt, and they certainly were.
And this is a classic game where you look at the box score and, Bryce Young only had 1 sack and he completed 18 to 30 passes. That sounds so bad. No. Okay. The pressure rate was, again, 38% for the Patriots. And when he hit the bench in the early 4th quarter, and Dave Canales, instead of being behind Zach Core, can't even see him now because Zach Core is so far in the distance ahead of him, is waving a white flag. Bryce Young had averaged 5 yards per pass attempt, run for 3 total yards, and again, felt pressure on more than a third of his snaps. So part of that was Gonzalez, you mentioned, just kind of stuck to the defense's right, to the offense's left, and just hung there. And he allowed 2 catches for 31 yards. But it was a good game plan, and they didn't execute it. This was not an issue of, again, them giving up space and easy stuff that you're going, what are you doing it too high right away? It's 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. It was, this guy screwed up Carlton Davis with a penalty. Christian Ellis missed more tackles and tipped a blitz and misdiagnosed the first play of the game. And then you pull him, and Jack Gibbons goes in, and Dr. Gibby does his thing. It was, I liked it better from the coaching piece before we dive into the rest of the players.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, and it was so frustrating to go back and watch that Steelers game and the way they started and be like, who thought that this was a good idea? Like, what are you worried about? I mean, I know DK is this freak athlete, but like, they don't do that kind of stuff. Even yesterday, DK gets his 80-yard touchdown or whatever it was. It was like a little skinny post. It was like a 12-yard throw and just, bad angles, and see you later. He's off to the races. This was much better. I like some of the different things they were doing up front, just getting a little bit beefier up front. I kind of enjoyed that. I think that the way Kyrus Tonga, who I think we mentioned last week, is playing well. I know he was your guy back in the day.
He was number 2 to Chase on, but we'll get to it.
But like, all of a sudden, when it's Milton Williams is the small guy in your defensive line at 295-ish or whatever, and Barmore and Tonga, and the quickness that all 3 of those guys have, it's interesting. I think we'll see a little. Depending on how the Bills try to attack them, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more of that, because James Cook is kind of going off, and maybe the best, other than Josh having the ball in his hands, the best part of their offense. So yeah, it was a very good plan that worked very well, despite when you look at the final counting stats. Well, they gave up after that first drive, they corralled that second drive. That was it. That was it for Carolina.
Pretty much. Second drive was 6 plays. Third drive was 6 plays. Fourth drive was 9 plays. But part of this wasn't the plan. Like, to your point, Carlton Davis has the hold. Dr. Gibby is in, Jack Gibbons, which I don't know why the nickname. I do know why the nickname comes in. I don't know why it lives on, because Vrabel gives him to this Jack Gibbons when he's a rookie in Tennessee. He's just playing linebacker because he picked up the defense very fast. He's like, oh, you're as smart as a doctor. And then drops it in his first press conference. Gibbons does. Anyway, he goes in for Christian Ellis, who, again, is just, you and I have talked about this, the nicest guy. I always like talking to him. I do not like watching his film because of the missed tackles and the poor play diagnosis. But when Gibbons goes in, part of the reason this drive, the fourth possession, goes a little bit longer is because they're picking on Gibbons, his replacement. in coverage, and it's a lot of Chubb or Hubbard, and it continues to go on and on and on. So there's always going to be a trade-off at inside linebacker. But the other thing that they have to look at, and I'm so glad you bring up James Cook, because there's no way Buffalo looks at this tape and goes, oh, I don't know how we're going to run the ball. They're going to run left. And you know how I know they're going to run left? Is because Carolina ran left for 4.7 yards a carry. And that is specifically because they're going at Callahan Chason. And when Chason's on the field, that means they're going at Keon White. And Keon White is healthy from some illness that kept him out a couple of weeks ago. And he dipped his toes back in against the Steelers, 13 snaps or whatever it was. He played a lot more against Carolina and failed to set 3 different edges for 3 different reasons. So when you want to know why is Carolina getting almost 5 yards a pop just going left, it's because of that stuff. And Buffalo is going to go with a big red marker circling that side. We would love to go behind Deion Dawkins. And the Patriots can fix this. They can change their personnel. But for the most part, Chason and Keon play the left side of the offense. We're looking from their perspective. And Harold Landry is going to be on the right. And that, when I look at this tape and go, yeah, they definitely had a good plan. And once they stopped doing stupid stuff like missing tackles and committing penalties, they were fine. But there are cracks here that they're going to have to figure out. And it's really the left side when it comes to the run game. We'll get to the pass game in a second. That I found Buffalo, and this is almost too easy.
And Deion Dawkins, Buffalo's left tackle, is probably one of the 5 best left tackles in football. Their line in general for the last year and change has been awesome. Spencer Brown, their right tackle, missed this last game. We'll see if he's back. He's a really good player too. But the thing that bothered me, and it's both Callahan and White are. Yeah, thank you. God, so why did I draw a blank on his first name? Not squeezing, like the guard would come out, and instead of squeezing down, they try to knife inside of it. It's like you knife inside of it, one little bounce, and you've given up the edge. And at times you're running at Ellis if he's in there. He's on that side sometimes, and it's like, well, he doesn't always diagnose quickly. I don't think either corner in particular, either of your outside corners loves to play the run hard. Marcus will throw his 5'8" frame in there, but that's not either one of those guys. And again, I'm okay with that. Cover is your first job as far as I'm concerned. But so there was a softness there at times, and you're like, how many times are you guys going to keep repeating the same mistakes? Because that has been a Keon thing for a year and a half now. And obviously we're getting to know Chason as a player, but this has been something that's happened to him from week 1 on.
Now, look, let's circle back for a second, because Christian Barmore had 4 pressures and should have drawn maybe 4 holds. Like he was awesome inside. Okay, Chason had 3 pressures. The sack that Milton Williams served up by winning so quickly on the interior in the second quarter.
Williams has got to get a half sack for that. I'm petitioning the league. Like I've heard Chris Long talk about this. You guys can like go back and forth. Like, dude, that happened because of me. I did that.
Yeah.
That you had nothing to do with that. That was all me.
Could you see like a little pea come down Bryce Young's leg? Because I think I could. This is like just tumbling backwards and falls on the ground.
Our good friend Chris Mason pointed out a great on that play. The center did not do his job, or at least not to the liking of the left guard, who was beaten badly by Milton Williams. And after the play ends, he like turns at the guy and he's like, what are you doing? Totally. Yeah. I didn't see it when I clipped it and put it out there for social media. And I was like, oh my God, that's beautiful. I got to go back and watch that again.
Yeah. Okay. And so when we talk about Keon White, like the run defense would have washed out his 2 pressures, which are better than we've seen from him the last 3 weeks. If they were in a competitive game setting, they were not. Part of the reason they were not is because the defensive line as a whole was very, very good. Even though Carolina says we got to roll Bryce out, again, run play action, 34% of the time. Just constantly get the ball out, get him on the move, do all these different things. Nickel-dimer game plan, okay? Good performance by the defensive line, Christian Barmore especially. Now, with Keon, it wasn't just that they're running left. Like when you have a guard pulling around, okay, and they're kicking out the end man in the line of scrimmage. That's just not any play. It's not power, okay? It's not duo. It's not, pin and pull necessarily. It's counter because they love that matchup of that guard against the end man in the line of scrimmage, which says they don't really think you're very good at the end of the line of scrimmage. This is fixable. Keon's a big guy. Okay, he's a tough guy, but they have to fix that because the Bills are going to be like, we're running counter left and doing it over and over again, where he got lost 3 times.
Is it fixable? It should be. You're right. And this is why I thought he was going to, as we talked about, I thought he was going to have a breakout year before it happened. And then the summer wore on. And I was like, I know you said, like, I'm not making any more Keon White predictions.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm sort of in the same place. Yeah. But that's where I'm at, where it's like, but you keep doing it. And, like there's always there seems to be always a reason for it. I don't like my coaching last year or this, and then he has the illness and you're working.
He's an enigma. That's
yes. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe Chason plays more and you just tell him, man, you just got to like throw your whole body into whomever's coming around the corner. Here's the thing in coverage that has me moving forward. Again, very good defensive plan. We covered all the stats, covered everything Zach Core did to stay a step ahead. Very, very good. But we care now about Buffalo. We care now about things moving forward. When the Patriots are going to play man coverage, which they've done 40% of the time, 35% of the time, 15% of the time, and again, 35% on Sunday. The way that their defense is now structured is that instead of having a guy who goes in motion, again, you're man-to-man coverage, follow him all the way across. You just got to speed and you got to keep up. That's your guy. You follow him wherever he goes. They will bump man coverage assignments over. So, for example, if Christian Gonzalez is opposite, as he was on Sunday, Ted McMillan on the left side of the offense. Okay, Ted McMillan standing there. Christian Gonzalez, I got that guy. He's their best receiver. He's mine. You have a receiver from the right side, go all the way in motion and finish his motion on the opposite side of Christian Gonzalez and the opposite side of Ted McMillan. That means Christian Gonzalez takes that guy who went in motion, okay, instead of McMillan. And everyone else bumps over. That's what I mean. Everyone moves over, take the next guy. That left on 2 occasions, Ted McMillan lined up with Jalen Hawkins. I don't care that happened because the Patriots won and they got away and they won big. But if I'm Joe Brady, and this is something to file away because we talk about this, you and I, Stephon Diggs blew a pick play, Miami 0 yards, and then the next week against Pittsburgh, we're going, hey, look at us. This is why you listen to the show. The longest play the Patriots had was set up by that same route concept. Steph did his job. Stevenson goes for whatever it was, 23 yards. If I'm Joe Brady, I'm looking and going, okay, when we get them in cover one and we look at the situations and the Patriots are most likely to run cover one, which is probably going to go up now because Christian Gonzalez is back. And what else would you want to do with an elite corner to play man-to-man defense? If we run that same motion and we can get them to bump all of their assignments over, and Gonzalez goes from McMillan to the outside receiver, and our best receiver is now in the slot, we can get a big play if they're one-on-one with Hawkins or Craig Woodson. And there's no perfect coverage, so I'm not here to propose that they should change and do things differently, but I just think they're vulnerable there with those particular man-to-man rules.
And what's interesting about this matchup is, so Keon Coleman, their second round pick, is their leading receiver currently. He's not their best receiver. That's Khalil Shakir, who is largely a slot receiver. But are you going to do what you said? Are you going to line him up out wide and then motion him in so you get that situation where you don't, if they're going to follow the same rules that they've been following, you're going to keep them away from Gonzalez. You're going to keep them away from Davis, and you're going to put them on one of your safeties. And I got to tell you, Khalil Shakir on either one of those guys could be a nightmare. And Josh's eyes will light up at that. Now, if it's Coleman, again, he's a bigger dude, but he's not the fastest guy. So, like, when he wins, it's usually he's winning just from physicality and size and his catch radius. But that's one to watch where, or do they look at someone like Palmer, who they brought in from the Chargers in the offseason, paid him a decent amount of money, been relatively quiet so far, but a pretty good route runner and fast? Do they try to do something with him where they say, look, we can get our guy with his speed on either one of those two safeties? If they're going to follow those rules, we'll take that matchup all day, every day, and we might hit a big play on you.
And that's what the best coordinators do, right? Like offense, defense, you find the other team's rules, and then you force them to break them, or you force those rules to work for you, which again, this might amount to nothing. Okay, the Patriots could change the rules and just say, we're going to have you chase because we know we just showed this and we don't want to be exploited there. And there's good reason to just bump your assignments over, right? Because then you don't tip if you're in man or zone, if your disguise is good enough pre-snap. Because everyone goes, if someone goes in motion on offense and then someone follows them on defense, oh, that's man-to-man. Defense is smartened up long ago. Not all of them do this, but that's one way to counterbalance that, where you bump over, you might be man, you might be in zone, who knows. But you also keep your leverage intact, okay? And when the Patriots would have under Belichick, player, you just got to follow him. You just got to shadow. Okay, that can work when you got an elite cover corner and a guy who's got a lot of speed. When they don't, then you might run into some issues. And so there's a cost either way. There's something you've got to pick and choose from to do it. And I'm just saying, it might come in a high leverage moment, it might not, but that's something that caught my eye. And if it catches my little beady eyes, okay, it's going to catch bigger ones in the league. That's all.
I also wonder too, because it was Christian's first game back and there wasn't a ton of practice time, if maybe this was an instance where, look, you're not running with a dude. Like we're not going to put the extra mileage on your body that hasn't had any mileage put on it at all. And we're not sure how you're going to respond to it physically, but maybe again, as he gets more comfortable, that allows him to say, now, you know what? You're going to run with that dude.
Last notes for me, speaking of safeties, Craig Woodson, who played some of that man coverage against receivers, had 2 missed tackles. The only player with multiple missed tackles. It's improvement. 7's not great, but it's a lot better where they were. He also had a near pick, as the rat player in cover 1 and missed it, collision with Carlton Davis, whatever. I like what I've seen from him despite the missed tackles, and the communication has been really, really good. I even texted you being like, are they spinning into Tampa 2 with that same motion and they're in zone? And I'm like, how did Jalen Hawkins go from like the flat player on one side to covering a deep half in the other? But you do that when you get good, smart safeties, and they are. Robert Spillane's my last note, 10 tackles. Is a completely different dude in the first 2 weeks when he had more missed tackles than made ones. That's the inside linebacker the Patriots paid for, and he's been here the last 2 weeks.
Spillane was one of mine. Same thing. We talked about last week how that's the guy that I saw all summer. That's the guy I watched on tape in Vegas. That's the guy that people told me about when he was coming here. We've seen that for the last 2 weeks. Very solid. Very assignment sound too. Like he's a really smart dude. I mentioned earlier the beefier defensive line with Tonga. That would be one thing that I would just sort of highlight. And again, think that could come into play this week against Buffalo. And on the Woodson note, he missed 2 tackles. He also made a couple really nice open field tackles. Mm-hmm. I like his physicality a lot. I think, again, young player, granted a ton of time in college, but still like learning the pro game. I suspect we're going to see a lot better. Like, I think we'll see more plays from him as it goes on, because I think he's smart enough and he's learning fast enough that some of these things that he's close on are going to actually turn in his favor.
Good player, man. He was our defensive rookie of the summer, right? Training camp?
Yeah.
Did we do that? Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
All right. Studs and duds really quickly. Then we'll get the leftover thought. And okay, let me have it. And mailbag.
Barmore, May, Diggs, Brendan Schooler. Great tackles on special teams. Also a tremendous, he and Alex Austin on the second long punt return by Marcus Jones, doubled the gunner and just kicked his ass. I mean, it was like one of those things where you're like, they must be holding him, because he literally can't, he's not moving. They're just covering him up and he's going where they're taking him. And then to Austin's credit too, peeled off and made another block down the field with Anthony Jennings as Jones almost took his second one to the house. So I put Schooler in there.
Yeah, I mean, May is the big one, right? McDaniels, you could throw in there. Barmore, I just kind of reinforce it. I mean, you win 42-13. We don't have
a lot of guys. There's not too many downs.
The duds piece of this, Ellis, we talked about, not great. Hope it gets better. Offensively, I didn't really have any notes there.
I didn't have any offensive guys. I put Carlton Davis on there. 2 holds. Penalties. Could have maybe got called for a third one down the sidelines on the it looked like something wasn't right there, but there was no call. And then I put your boy Callahan on there just because he's getting a lot of run. I want him to be more of a consistent. He doesn't have to be a great run defender, just be sound.
Whatever he had, the sickness of not knowing where the line of scrimmage is and being offside every single game is apparently contagious, because Anthony Jennings caught it and also lined up on the wrong GD line side of the line of scrimmage. Can they just line up right? You know what I mean? Like, we can talk about, penalties don't matter. They don't correspond to winning percentage. Just line up. Do the simple, stupid stuff. And don't be stupid about it.
Yeah. Fair.
Anyway, I can't be mad. They won 42-13. All right. Leftover thought.
But it's okay.
Yeah. Okay, let me have it. And then we got mailbag and we'll get out of here. But first, last Friday, I got to tell you, I had even more fun than I did Sunday. I watched a big win. It wasn't 42-13, but it was a walk-off Red Sox win to put them in the playoffs first time in 4 years. and I couldn't even see the ball because I was way in center field. But I tell you, I got the cheapest tickets you will find anywhere because I went to GameTime, where they have the lowest price guarantee for baseball, football, basketball, wherever you want to go, concerts, comedy shows. It's only at GameTime. Yes, I go to them because they sponsor this podcast, but also you find me another place that's going to give you 110% of the difference if another outlet has lower tickets and lower prices than GameTime. You can't. It's not going to happen. So when you want to see your seat view, like I always do, when you want that lower price, if you want deals at the last second, just go to GameTime for all of your ticket needs. Again, playoffs, it doesn't matter. You can find NFL tickets as low as $100, which, by the way, in New England, is not a small fee. But again, only at GameTime. So take all the guesswork, all the fees, all the nonsense out of tickets, and just go to GameTime. Download the app today, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the GameTime app today.
We should probably download and hey, what are you doing tomorrow? 6 o'clock, 6:08.
Oh,
Red Sox Yankees. Geared up for that, baby.
Then we got variable at 12:55 on Wednesday, though. Nah.
Yeah, whatever.
Take the late train out. Crochet. Max Reed. Oh, I'm so excited. All right. Leftover thought. This is on a serious note because we have not brought him up yet. I've talked about his replacement a few times now. Zach Core. Very good game as a play caller. Derrell Williams was honored in the first or second commercial break up on the scoreboard because he is battling prostate cancer. This is something Mike Vrabel shared with the media for the first time last Friday. And frankly, look, all cancer is serious. This is not to diminish or compare or dismiss a deadly disease that has affected my family. It's affected most everybody's family. It sounds pretty serious with Derrell. And so I would just ask everyone, particularly the people in my mentions about him, to sit and think about what that means for a 51-year-old man who is devoted to his family, to his career, what that means, and to send him some well wishes. We got a card, passed around, signed it from everyone in the media to let him know we've got his back. And look, that's not a thing you say in the media because we're here to observe and document and interview and report. But this is, as they say, bigger than football. It's bigger than sports. And I wish all the best for that man and his family and his recovery. What's been a just brutal 2025 for him. And I hope he's back on the sideline or in the booth soon. But I just would be remiss if we didn't bring up someone and a piece of news that I've not talked about in this podcast since my last episode, because he was expected to be a big piece of this organization and he hasn't been, and it's not his fault. And I hope all of the best for him, as I know everyone in that locker room does.
Yeah, I felt it was important to ask Mike about it in the post game. And I don't know if I necessarily loved the way my question came out, but Mike and I kind of locked eyes, and I think he knew what I was trying to do, and I knew what he was gonna do. And he said, like, so many things that are much bigger than winning a football game, and he's in the fight for his life, and we're gonna find him the right treatment, and we're gonna support him the best we can. And I just keep going back to having done the research I'd done on him when they hired him, and just how many people were like so excited for him to get the opportunity, that it was well-deserved and overdue, and he's going to do great things there. I mean, he's as respected as anybody in terms of position coaching. Like, we were talking about Dante Scarnecchia, right, and how good Dante is. Like, he should be in the Hall of Fame for his job with the offensive line in New England. Terrell doesn't have the same lengthy resume that Dante does, but when people talk about coaching defensive lines and who does it better than anybody else, Terrell's name always comes up. So heartbreaking, and because this is what he wants to do, right? And this was his big opportunity to do that. And so you feel for the guy, but most importantly, you just hope he finds his health and he comes through this, and that whatever his future holds, it includes good health and happiness with his family for many, many years to come.
Yeah. And I text around and said, is there anything more we could get? Gift card here, a place he likes, or food or whatever. And no, card's good. And okay, that's what we did. But it's look, it just makes you pause wherever you are. Like I was doing that the next day in the locker room, just kind of staring ahead at nobody and really nothing, thinking about him, because that's what this type of news does. But look, they've known for a while. They've known for weeks, well before they told us. That's, of course, their prerogative. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying they're managing to move on. He's contributing. I don't know how much, but obviously a big win. And that was really your question, right? It's like, is it just nice to bring him a little bit of joy knowing what he's going through? And, Mike took it one way, which is obviously his prerogative too, but that's where we are. Do you have any leftover thoughts before we get to, okay, let me have it in the mailbag?
No.
Okay.
I thought about it, but no, we're good.
Yeah. Real quick. Will Campbell has a clean sheet. This is a rookie who, because my reporting and yours and other people's, which was all accurate, was just smacked around on social media. Not that he cared, because he's way tougher than you, way tougher than me.
Yeah.
But I say he's got a clean sheet. Half of his games so far are perfect in pass protection, kicking ass in pass protection. Then you go, well, actually, his run game is sometimes he loses the block. And you're accurate, but okay. But keeping things in perspective, the kid's 21 and exceeding all expectations to the point people are going to be wanting to rub it in our faces. And not because we did anything wrong. And this is going to be your defense. I can feel it. I can see it in your face. That the truth is he's lost some run blocks. I confirmed it for you. But is it worth anything compared to 0 pressures allowed again?
He's the number 4 pick in the draft. High expectations. If you're going to spend a 4th pick in the draft on a guy, I'm sorry, hold him to different standards than I would hold the 4th round defensive tackle or the 5th round defensive end who didn't make the team, the initial 53, and is now on the practice squad. Like, there's just a different level of even Kyle Williams. I look at Kyle and like, it's going to take some time. That's okay. How he's the number 4 pick. And I got some people in Boston Sports Journal were giving me grief, some of the members about him. I know, shocking. Did you know it pass block efficiency for as good as he has been of the rookie tackles? Josh Simmons, the left tackle in Kansas City, according to PFF, better in pass block efficiency. Armand Membu, so 2 of us in this very podcast were on Membu Island, had been, at least coming into this evening, better as a pass blocking in terms of the efficiency rate, the PFF charts. And there's other stats you can come up with and tell me like his is. I'm just telling you, like,
okay.
He's got to be there. That's what you picked him there. Show me.
I'm curious about this Jets Dolphins game. Do you finally have something, by the way? Maybe that should have been my let me have it, that you just had nothing for this segment because you're
no, you know what I was going to say? But
go ahead. No, say it.
No, it's fine. You referencing Scott Van Pelt, I couldn't help but think, one bald guy showing love for another bald guy. That's really cute. That's nice. You can't give us credit, guys with hair, even if it's gray. No, you got to Scott Van Pelt, SVP, dork.
SVP gets a lot of credit because this might come up tomorrow on the radio because they've suggested I wear my hat for it as like some kind of punishment. I'm like, man, I wear that hat because when I don't have hair, you need to give something for other people to look at. Glasses, a beard, a backwards hat, which look better on me in this particular hat because I have a very tall, big head. And so when I wear this hat forward, it extends the height of your already tall head.
Is it the same Patriots hat that you would wear in training camp that definitely is maybe a size too small?
Patriots hat? That was a Twins
Patriots hat. I'm sorry.
I got in Minnesota.
I meant Patriots Twins hat.
It's my white 2004 Red Sox World Series hat, which also turns a yellowish. Basically, if you saw this hat, you would think it was Trot Nixon's. I'll put it that way. About a deep cut for the folks. That's how that hat looks like sometimes.
I used to have the only hat I've ever really liked in my entire life was and I don't know why, I just like the color. It's a light blue Kentucky hat, just the K on the front. And I used to wear it when I ran. So you just sweat and it turns white and it's, disgusting.
I'm going to save that for, okay, let me have it next week. That story was just good. Just great story.
Wow.
I had a Kentucky hat. I ran in it. All right.
I don't like you very much.
Let's get through the mailbag.
Tyreek Hill apparently had a really bad ankle injury tonight, like season ending possibly.
See, that's a terrible story, but a better one than the one you just told. Okay. Amit, let's get to some questions and then let's get out of here. And again, if you want to know anything, drop them in the comments, YouTube, wherever else, and then subscribe to @_Andrew Callahan and come listen Mike Giardi Mondays every single Monday in this podcast, plus Patriots Press Pass. We are ready for you whenever. Commander Ray, Oh man, he's going deep here. Will Pop be on the roster week 10?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, look, he only played 8 snaps, but come on. AJ, low-key MVP candidate. I can assume that's not Pop he's referring to. I assume it's Drake Maye. And this is what I almost tried to bait you with, as I teased off the air pregame that I would suggest a Drake Maye MVP candidate. The raw stats are there. You'll probably get a segment of this at first take or two, or get up or whatever's going on ESPN these days. You will not find it here because of the schedule that they played, some of the turnovers, but he's played great. Like Pro Bowl level, whatever you consider that to be, he is above that for sure.
Yeah, and I forget where I heard this, but it was in the preseason, or they were doing like MVP. I might have been Shil Kapadi on the Ringer, and they were talking about like MVP candidates and like who's a real MVP candidate. And he came up with a number, I believe it was Shield, was like the last 5 or 6 guys that have won, and maybe even longer than that, 13 wins. Like that's the benchmark, 13 wins or more, and you win the MVP or you're in the conversation and have a real shot to win it. Anything less than, you're not. So, unless you think the Patriots are going to go absolutely ham here, and he's going to continue to produce the numbers that he's produced over the last 3 weeks, probably be unlikely for a team that maybe they make the playoffs, whatever, or 9-8, 10-7, like, but that's a different conversation.
So he is 11th in QBR right now, which is ESPN's metric, but it's a modern version of passer rating. It includes fumbles, it includes sacks, it includes everything that should be included that passer rating traditional one does not. And when you look at some of the guys ahead of him who are going to win a lot of games in QBR, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford, also ahead of him when it comes to passing touchdowns, or Josh is tied with him. And then you get in your Goffs and your Lamar Jacksons, and Lamar's not going to win it because of their record. Now he's hurt. Point is, it's just there are steps to go between rookie and Pro Bowler, like legit Pro Bowler and MVP. And I'm just saying we're in the middle step. Let's do 2 more. Or not. That's fine. I think Ahmed already went to the club, which is cool.
Maybe he did. We learned interesting facts about him today.
We did. Oh my, Tony,
Tony,
I know I've had a bourbon and Mike's had a beer, but you might have had both. Would you take Kyle Arrington over Christian Gonzalez? No, man.
No. Mike, Kyle, great guy, worked his way up, being one of those guys at Belichick, like, hey, we give you a little bit, you show you can handle it, we give you a little bit more, and eventually got himself not paid once, but twice, right? Free agency, I think he went to Baltimore. But the lasting memory here is him getting absolutely roasted in the Seattle Super Bowl and Bill finally being like, nope, I'm done with you. That's it. You can leave now.
Streaky guy.
Yes.
Another question just popped up, and this will be our last one. And I might do a mailbag like on Twitter or Blue Sky later in the week, because I know if you're not on the show right now, you don't get your questions answered. So what was that last one we just saw? Something about the Bills taking out Drake Maye. Are we worried about that? I certainly am, says number 1 Patriots fan.
I don't know.
It sounds like dirty play.
Yeah, I don't. As I sit here and think about who's on the Bills' front 7, Bosa, Russo. No, I don't know where that would come from.
No, I'm not worried about it. That's not Sean McDermott's MO. Some coaches, you can kind of see it coming away. All right, we'll do one more. Patrick Bowen paid Amit $5. Sent him a Venmo, and he got his extra 5th question. When does Kyle Williams work his way into more game reps?
I don't see it yet. I mean, he did do a nice job on one of Diggs's catches clearing out, but like I said, I was underwhelmed by him during the summer. He'd have a good day, and then you wouldn't hear from him again for 4 days. And now they're giving him a little bit of a taste, which I think is smart. You're getting his feet underneath him. But to this point, I haven't seen anything that says, "Oh, you got to cut down Mac Hollins snaps. You got to cut down Kayshon Boutte snaps and give Kyle Williams more." I haven't seen it. I know people are intrigued because he's young and because he's fast, but there's more to it than that. And I would gather if he shows them enough in practice, he'll start to see an increase.
Yeah, it sounds dismissive, probably because it is, but like, what has Kyle Williams done? You know what I mean? It's
right.
just And you're right. I think the smart thing is to kind of work him in, rotate. The scouting report on that kid is going to say speed. And so when you're running those clear out, they call them for love of the game routes. Like, you're doing this just so somebody else can get a catch. And that is because you love football that much. He's done his job. And it'll just take time. Like, man, it's almost a good thing, right? Like, I know people want to see the rookie receiver, the fast one, kind of stand out and do everything. If Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte are exceeding expectations, and Matt Collins, who's really pseudo fullback tight end, like, you want to talk about for love of the game routes, however, for love of the game position, that's Matt Collins right now. It's okay, because that means they're exceeding expectations. If they weren't good enough, and Kyle Williams, who has done, again, pretty much nothing, had to play, that means you're in a bad situation overall with the receivers. So it's a good thing. All right. Thank you again. This was fun. We'll be back next Monday in a much different state. And I'm not talking about upstate New York. I'm talking about you and I on about 3 or 4 hours of sleep.
Oh, baby.
Having done film, I'll do it in the hotel, then the flight over, then here in this chair, and lock this on. And I would doubt that we're going to go an hour and 20 minutes like we did here today, but we play hurt, baby. And we will be here with Pats Bills Sunday Night Football, most anticipated Patriots game since Pats Bills at the end of 21 in the playoff.
I think it's fair. 2022, maybe the Minnesota game. Was that Thanksgiving weekend, or was that Thanksgiving in general? Remember the Hunter Henry catch, no catch? Just because they were teetering.
Tryptophan going through your system, it's hard to anticipate anything but bedtime. You know what I mean?
Only because they were teetering a playoff team, non-playoff team. You know?
No, I think it's a playoff game, Buffalo, even as much as we all recognize that as just a complete demolition. Anyway, I think it'll be a fun game. This has been fun. We will have more tomorrow. Read Mike's Musings, Boston Sports Journal. Find my film review. This is a good one. I don't say that about all of them. This is a good one. BostonHerald.com. And we'll be back later this week with Ty Dunn of Go Long, who had an awesome story about Trayvon Henderson.
He did.
And stuff that you just would never have considered is going on with this kid. So we'll talk more about that with Ty. And until then, I guess I'll see you Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. See you, pal.
See you.